April 17 marked the 40th anniversary of the Khmer Rouge takeover of Phnom Penh. Among millions of people forced to evacuate Cambodia's capital city was VOA's Reasey Poch, who recently returned to the house where he grew up.
Yeah, and this evacuation was just the start of the troubles caused by the Khmer Rouge as the regime began its reign of death and terror. I talked to Reasey about his own family's experience. Take a look. Tell us a little bit more about that history for you of being forced to leave Phnom Penh.
Over 1 million people had to evacuate the city on April 17, 1975. The Khmer Rouge came in and people were excited at the time. They thought, oh, the war was over. We'll start rebuild the country. But just a few hours later, the Khmer Rouge soldiers start telling people to evacuate. And they were telling people that the Americans were going to bomb the city. And that's why we had to evacuate. And we had no choice but to leave immediately at gunpoint. There were some, I did not witness, but I heard stories that they actually killed some people who resisted, who did not want to leave the house. And for my family, we had to go right away. So my mom had prepared, a quick meal, some boiled egg, and then we ate, and then we had to leave. And at that moment, for some reason, I felt like, is something going to happen? I'm not coming back. So I tried to remember the details, but now all I can remember was that last meal, and when I left the house, I turned around and take another last look.
Talk to us about the moment. Take us to that moment when you went back to your old house.
Yeah, I went back to the house several times in the past when I went to cover a news event for VOA. But this time every time I always stand outside and take some pictures. But this time the lady who was a servant at the house is rented to a Frenchman. She told me, she asked me and I told her who I am, that I lived in the house before, and she let me in. It's like bring back a lot of memories and seeing the house, but they change the appearance. They expand the house, they make more rooms. The garage turned into a room. And when I left the house was 40 years ago, a long time ago. I was a young boy. In my imagination, the house was much bigger, but in reality, it's quite small. Right. But the thing is, a lot of people share the same thing, but they don't go either. They just drove by and then they say, oh, they tell their children that this is the house, but they never went in. But I had the opportunity to go in and make a video using the iPhone. But life goes on in Cambodia. People don't notice much. They are focusing on building their lives, and they have come a long, long way from 1975 and 1979 when the Khmer Rouge fell. So people were busy getting ready to celebrate the Cambodian New Year, which was April 14, 15, and 16. And the fall of Cambodia to the Khmer Rouge happened the day after the New Year.
You wrote on our website about the personal toll that it took on your family and personal losses that you suffered.
My mom did not go back to Cambodia because she was, the trauma was so heavy on her. It took a heavy toll. She went back to Cambodia only a few years ago, only after like 36, 37 years later. Yeah. And I showed her the video. The only thing she talked about is like, oh, the house looked different, but she didn't go deep into her emotion. For Cambodian Americans, a lot of us turn this negative experience into something positive. Some people write books they write memoirs. Some people start an NGO and go back home and help with the school, building school, bringing school supply. Each does different things to help Cambodia. So they're moving on, but they turn it into something positive.
And Reasey also turning his experience into something positive after seeing his younger brother and sister die in late 1975 and 1976, and the Khmer Rouge take his father and grandfather away in 1977. Extremely tragic history here, and we are grateful to Reasey for being willing to share a little bit of it with us.